everybody, and welcome to the season finale of the Phriends Club Podcast. I'm your host, Fizz, one of your hosts.
And I'm the other host. My name is Charlotte.
Sorry, guys, I got way into it. We're both hosts. It's a season 2 finale.
It is the end of an era. We did it.
We did it. We've made it another season. And today's a very special episode because we're doing a double feature. We're doing 2 videos. Yep.
What better way to end the series? I feel like all good TV shows end the series on like a double, like a part 1, part 2 for like the last 2 episodes. And that's what we're doing.
Exactly. This is like our 80-minute episode. I don't think it'll be 80 minutes, but...
it might be. Who knows what we're going to end up talking about.
Oh my god, I know. What are we discussing today? We'll get into what Danful are doing now as well, but just letting you guys know what we're doing today.
So today, we are discussing the famed 2014 Krave Challenge videos, otherwise known as Phil the Lion versus Dan the Dinosaur Water Race, and Dan the Dinosaur versus Phil the Lion, the Extinction Race. So it was their double Krave videos that they did back in 2014. It made sense to put them together. They're filmed at the same location. They were uploaded within 5 days of one another. Why not shove them together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they are like, they do come as like a package deal because it went Phil's video and then the finale was Dan's video. And this is like a huge production as well. Like these videos were filmed on site. They had a crew, I say in air quotes. They had a DOP and Jack Howard was involved in
they had a sound man, so yeah,
huge big things for Dan and Phil.
Big things for Dan and Phil. But yeah, before we get into that one, I thought that we could discuss what Dan and Phil have been up to at the moment, just for a little update as to where they are in life. And where they are is currently in the city of Seattle.
Woo! We're back in our tit era. This time in America.
We had a little rest from being titties, and we're back to being titties again.
Yeah, exactly. So at the time of recording, I think Tit Seattle will be tomorrow on Monday.
It's today. It's today.
It's today? They were just at a football game?
Yeah, they're doing one today. No, I feel like maybe that was delayed posting. Like maybe that was last night because it's currently 11:30 in the morning in Seattle.
11. Right.
So I feel like maybe that was from yesterday and they've delayed posting.
Oh, possible.
Which we know that they're kings of doing delayed posting.
That's true. I forgot for a second. I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, they're in Seattle. They're getting ready to be American for like a billion years.
It's gonna feel like a billion years. I already feel so sad.
Oh, I know, because we have to wake up to all of this instead of enjoying it live.
The worst part of them being in America. Like, I hope they have a great time, but it's never easy. Whenever they've been to America before, when they did the previous tours, it was tough. I was in the trenches, and I don't like it.
You were in the trenches. I know. We're gonna get so many Phil pancake tweets. I can't wait.
So let's jump straight into the video, I think, and then we can see what else comes up. I feel like there might be some tangents. So I think we could discuss Phil's video first, as that was the first one uploaded on the 4th of July 2014. Now, important to note, Fizz, that these videos were uploaded a month after the famous Oreo lick race.
Yes.
So... all of the controversy and investigations into the advertising of that video hadn't happened yet, because that didn't happen until November of this same year. So Nothing untoward was happening here. They were just carrying on as normal. They didn't know about these big rules. So yeah, that's why we're
Yeah.
not going to be discussing anything related to that, just in case people wondered. Like, that hasn't happened yet. That's in the future.
Yes, exactly. So right now it's pretty obvious that this is like a partnership sort of thing that Crave have done with a bunch of YouTubers, not just Dan and Phil, and it's more of a challenge tag. Like they frame it as a challenge tag because I'm just gonna say it as a note just for explanation purposes. But after Dan's video, they mentioned that PJ's video is next, and PJ uploads his own Crave video like a week later. Just for context, that's what this is. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah.
I miss this era of like YouTube. Like, YouTubers used to do this so much. Like, companies would get in touch with different YouTubers, and they'd all like
Mm,
tag each other. What, like, not tag, but it'd be like, oh, like, we're done this. Go check out this person's video, and then you'd watch theirs, and they'd
yeah,
say, oh, go check out this
yeah.
person's video, and it'd be like, oh, let's watch the little series, because I watched all of the YouTubers at this time. So if a
Oh,
company
okay.
was reaching out to them, like, there was a good chance that I was watching that person on YouTube who was going to be involved in like this challenge somehow. But I miss this era. It was so good. Like, this was the golden era of YouTube. I'm going to say it. It's just not the same anymore.
Truly, truly, 100% agree. Like 2014, 2015, just the best. I don't know, like sponsorships these days is like I think I said in the last episode as well, like when a brand um is like like there's like specific influencer brands that people talk about, but it's just sort of like the same ad reads and stuff, but this is so cool where they send you things and they make you do a big sort of like special video for it, and then everyone's involved and it's just so much fun. And this is for like um basically it's not even like they're selling you cereal, it's like a promotion um for free passes, I believe. So I looked into it. There aren't any articles about this, but I think there was a promotion going on with like the Merlin Entertainment Company in the UK. I think that's what it's called. I just heard Merlin and
Yeah, that's
ran with that.
correct.
Yes. So they own like Sea Life, Legoland, London Eye, Alton Towers, Thorpe Park, etc., etc. You can look them up. And I think they had a promotion with Crave where on the side of their cereal boxes, you could get a free pass um, to any of these attractions. So for Dan and Phil, their whole deal was that they had to do a ridiculous competition to see who would win that free pass. It's a continuation of Phil the Lion and Dan the Dinosaur. We covered Dan the Dinosaur on the podcast. You can go listen to that episode if you haven't. But this is sort of like the finale of those two videos.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll discuss Phil's first because he uploaded his
Hmm.
first.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes,
So
yes.
watching back on this, so Phil's is still on his channel, thank God. Phil still serves the people, unlike certain
Mm-hmm.
people who shall not be named, who have
Mm-hmm.
deleted all of their videos from their YouTube channel.
Oh, but we
Um,
will never let him run away. But
no.
yeah.
What I didn't realise is, obviously, Phil filmed the whole intro to this, like unboxing the box, taking everything out. I hadn't realised, like, when I'd watched this years and years ago, that they'd filmed all of that after they'd done the challenges, which feels so stupid to me now. That, like, why would they just film a bit, then go and do the challenge, and then come back? Like, it makes so much more sense to, like, film it all in one go after they've done it.
Yeah, no, I think that's like testament to how I was gonna say how good Phil is with his movie magic, but I think we just didn't know. I'm not gonna like fault you for it.
Yeah, it was only when I
Good
noticed
Phil
the
hair.
cereal box.
Oh yeah, it's soggy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
made a note of that as well. It's like
yeah.
wet.
I made my note. I was like, they think they can fool me. They can't. I see that soggy cereal box, Phil. I know you filmed this after you'd done the challenge already.
um my first note about this is that he did a callback to the postman at 8 a.m.
He did.
And he put a
Yes, he
screenshot.
did.
Yeah, yes, very smart film. Like, he's a storyteller. Our Phil, storyteller. He knows. He knows all the things.
All the things. That's so vague.
All the things. I'm a writer by profession, by the way. Like, I know words, but I'm just trying to say that I think it's very like smart, because I don't think I would have noticed it years ago. Like, I saw the screenshot of Dan's face when he won the Oreo like race like video, and I was like, oh my god, that's so smart. And he didn't like, I don't know. He said it was a good joke. Good job, Phil. That's my first point.
So the basis for Phil's video is they are transported to a swimming pool in the north of London. I did Google where the swimming pool was because I was intrigued and I wanted to know where it was.
Of course. Yeah.
It's like a private school or something in the north of London, and that's where they filmed Dan's video as well, in the sports hall of that school. Nothing untoward. I literally screenshotted the swimming pool and then just Google searched it. So I didn't do any insane detective work. It was all there on Google for me to find.
Yes. Just getting our like disclaimers out. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's pretty easy to find things. Yeah.
So the basis of Phil's is they're presented with a box with two sides and they each have to pick one. In one side is a lovely inflatable boat, nice and easy, and in the other side are some ridiculous inflatable yellow shoes, and their challenge is to get from one side of the pool to the other where the bowl of cereal is. I'm gonna say straight up, this video is rigged. Dan was made to lose.
100%. I cannot be, I mean, it could have been anyone. Anyone could have picked it, but whoever picked those shoes was going to lose. And yeah, like the entire time I was like, if I was Dan, I would have done everything he did in this video.
Yeah.
I
But
think
they're both rigged. Like, so spoiler, Phil wins this one, and this is his video, and Dan wins his, which is his video. So, I don't know what, like, is going on here. I don't know what's going on in big YouTube, or big Krave cereal. Whoever's in charge of Big Krave. Look, I know what you're doing, and this was all rigged from the start.
It's almost like they scripted everything to be the funniest possible version of the video. But still.
Still, I'm entertained. I believe that, Dan fell into the water. That wasn't scripted at all. Like, that just happened because he had these ridiculous inflatable shoes on that were never going to work.
Exactly. And also, Phil had the one disadvantage, which was that he didn't have oars. So he was using, like, I think teaspoons or tablespoons to try to move.
But I made a note about that as well. Even with the spoon oars, he could have used his hands. He could have won that so easily. Yeah. He could have gone straight from A to B and won it in 2 minutes. But I think he sabotaged himself for entertainment value. And at one point he was spinning around in circles. At one point he turned around to see where Dan was. I see what he's doing. I think he sabotaged himself to make the video more entertaining.
And that's just commitment, as we've always said, commitment to the bit.
Commitment to the
entertainment. Yeah. I appreciate it, but I really loved what Dan did where he just disappeared because he was underwater and then pushed Phil off. Just incredible drama. Amazing revenge arc. Love it. 10 out of 10.
It really was. I'm so interested to know who they talked about this video with, or whether it was just a conversation between the two of them as to they must have had an idea of Phil's gonna zoom ahead, Dan's gonna really, really struggle, and then Phil's gonna struggle a bit, and we think that Dan might win, but then Phil's gonna claw it back. There must have been some discussion about that, because as much as I want to believe that this all happened completely off the cuff, I don't think that is how this video was scripted. I think it was scripted. I think it was planned beforehand who was going to win and exactly how they were going to win.
I completely agree with you with how, first of all, the control freaks that Dan and Phil are. I think they would have scripted most of this. Secondly, the way they got these shots done, you need to have a shot list or a storyboard or something, to make sure that you're capturing all of these funny moments. Otherwise, you're just gonna get like a wide, just like, you don't get the close-ups, you don't get the other stuff that you need to make that video that funny for the edit. I think they had like a GoPro or something, because there were angles of like from their point of view, which was freaky. I
Yeah, they
hated
both had
that.
GoPros attached to their head.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if it's not scripted, that makes it even better because they're so witty. Like all of the stuff they were saying where, I don't know, Dan was being so dramatic. He was like, "I'm drowning, Phil, Phil, I'm drowning." And then at the end
Yeah,
when he loses, he's
I made
like,
a note about
"Why
that.
have you why have you forsaken me?" Like that's very quick wit if he thought of that in the moment.
Yeah, I made a note about
Mm.
Phil. Dan, like screaming and being like, "Phil, I'm drowning, drowning," and I was like, "That's just really adorable." That he thought that he could try and distract Phil, and that Phil would believe him for a second.
I know. Do you know what that reminded me of in the date night video recently? Sorry, like trigger warning for bringing up that video, but the date night video where
When
Dan
we
had the
finally
dare to compliment.
when we finally discuss that video in like 20 years' time, we will put a trigger warning in the description. Don't worry, guys.
Yes. But just to like draw a comparison where he had the dare to compliment Phil, and he was like, and he couldn't do it, and then he was like, "Wait, do you want like, like an ego moment? You give me more time and get more compliments, or and then Phil was like, "No, I want the card, I want to win, I don't care about that." So I think that's like a similar sort of like parallel, trying to go for Phil's emotions but not realizing that Phil just wants to win.
That's so true. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. One note I made about like, so I think both of these videos, and just something that I noticed anyway about videos at this time, Dan's voice sounds so different, and I think we have discussed this previously,
Mm,
but his tone of voice is so much more higher pitched than it is now.
yes.
And I don't know if I think it's definitely something to do with the microphones that they were using. Like, obviously, microphones have, gotten so much better than they were back then. So I think that maybe might have something to do with it. But he just sounds so different. And I don't know what it is. Like, was he like putting on a voice? Like, was he making his voice
I think
higher
so.
pitched? Which
I
which begs the
think
question,
so.
why? Like, why was he doing that if that was something he was doing?
Okay, so I made this note in my Dan video notes where
Wow. I'm
I
like, we're
said
so
that
in
this
sync.
is.
We're so in
I
sync in our notes,
know,
Fizz.
I know. I said so. My thing is that he sounds so Dinosaur on Fire in this video, but we very rarely cover Dinosaur on Fire videos, because they didn't do a lot of joint content, I should say, on that channel. And he has a certain way of speaking to Dinoff viewers than like gaming channel video viewers and like Amazing Phil viewers. Like he's very laid back in those videos, whereas with Dance on Fire, he's like, yeah, he like projects differently, he speaks differently.
Yeah,
um
I absolutely get what you mean. He's got like it's his Dance on Fire persona, I think. Like,
yeah.
because of the nature of the videos that he makes on his, well, sorry, the video nature of the videos that he made on his channel. um,
Fashion.
like,
That's
I
nice.
I think like he put more of like a presentery tone to his
Mm,
voice and
yeah.
presented them differently, which is just, I think it's just really interesting to like think about, because I don't think Phil ever did that. I think Phil has always sounded like Phil. And obviously, like, we see a different side to him in like the gaming channel videos now. Like, he is a little bit more relaxed. Like, there's a bit more of
Hmm.
like a humorous tone to his voice. But I don't think that Phil's voice has changed at all. I think the way that he's spoken on camera since he started is pretty much the same way he speaks now.
Yeah. If anything, it is just like, yeah, more laid back. I think it's also the combination of them having a script that they're clearly following. So they're like they're doing it like actors on a stage as opposed to just being very natural with their script as well. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I
They're
think
very much
especially more
performing.
so in some of the bits with Dan's video, you can tell that like it was semi-scripted and
Yes.
it's just them like speaking from a stuff that they've rehearsed before or like they've written down that they want to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Um, I had this one note where before they start, they do this thing called the battle stance, and then where they like do like a battle stance, and then they do battle dance, and that unlocked something in me. Like that was so nostalgic to me. I don't know what it was. Like it took me back to 2014. I was like, whoa, I'm back when I was watching this video for the first time. I think in my
Yeah.
head I used to say it a lot because you've talked about this, right? Like certain quotes like stick out to you, and you can say like in that same tone in your head. That's me
Yeah.
with this part of the video. I was like, whoa,
Crazy. I love that bit though
crazy.
as well. I thought it was like so silly and so 2014 them. Like it's
Yes,
such a like
yes,
time
yeah,
capsule thing. And such a Phil thing as well. Like, that is definitely a Phil thing. That obviously the video is on his channel.
yes. It's also very BBC Radio One thing. I feel like they would do that on a BBC video. I don't know why. Just like content that they would
They
use.
had
Maybe
their
it's a
best
song.
presenter hats on.
For this one, yeah, this Spawn
Yeah.
video was like them showing us their presenter skills.
My final note about Phil's video is, when is Phil going to bring back Draw Phil Naked? I think 2024 is the time.
Ooh, yeah, I think so too. I think he would get really good art this time. Not that
There would be
it wasn't good,
incredible
but
art.
yeah.
And I presume a lot of the Draw Phil Nakeds that he chose were all very, like, silly and whimsical. But I
Hmm.
think that there could be some, like, incredible Draw Phil Nakeds now. Like, I'm talking, like, literal, like, artwork that could be put in galleries. I'm talking, like, statue
Wow.
of David, Michelangelo level Draw Phil Nakeds.
Just people sending him pictures of the sculptures they've made of him.
When is someone going
Yeah.
to make a sculpture of Amazing Phil? Do you know what?
When in what?
He would love that. I can see.
You
Look,
think?
Phil. Phil pretends he doesn't have an ego, but he absolutely does. And if someone made a sculpture of like him naked or with clothes on, either way, he would
No.
absolutely eat that up.
Yeah. Do you think he hated it when Alfie and Zoe got like Madame Tussauds sculptures and he was like, "Excuse me."
Do you know what? Yeah. I bet a little part of his brain was like, to Dan, I bet he was like, Dan, like, oh, can you see, like, Zalfie have got these statues, like, where are ours? Like, can you imagine if we had some? And Dan was so not bothered. Like, I feel like this is something that like Dan just wouldn't care about. And he's like, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
care about
yeah,
that. And then Phil would get
yeah.
mad that Dan didn't care enough as much as he did that they don't have
And this is like
statues
one
of
of their
Madame Tussauds.
like so he'd be like, after all we've done for this country, like we single-handedly brought back the reputation of Britain, and they do this to us.
Literally. But no, I think
Sorry, what a tangent. I'm so sorry.
honestly, no, it's fine. But I honestly, you can see it in videos. It's not very obvious, but Phil has such a big ego with himself. Like, and not in a negative way. I
Mm,
don't mean that at all in a negative way, but he loves himself. The fact that his birthday is like a month-long event, he's like,
yeah,
whenever like he wants to do, whenever they do a competition, he wants to like win something. He's very like, oh my god, me, I'm Phil and I'm
yeah,
the best. So
yeah,
I think he would love a statue of himself. If someone were to sculpt his body out of marble, he would have that in the files. He'd put that maybe cardboard cow of himself up around the house. He loves himself, Fizz.
I know, and isn't that so inspiring? I think he would. I
Honestly.
think he does really. Yeah. He also like it's very not noticeable sometimes, but sometimes when he's looking at the viewfinder, he just sort of like checks himself out a lot these days.
And do you know what? Good for
Which I
him.
like. Yeah, literally, like he looks great now. So good for him.
So yeah, I think we should bring back draw film. Even the fact that I'm saying he had a segment in his videos called Draw Phil Naked. Like, how much more like
Yeah.
egotistical can you get by adding in a segment to your videos called Draw Me Naked? He was begging people to draw him naked and send them in to him.
Yeah. You know what? Younger sibling to younger sibling, I get it. I get it so much. I'm just like,
Do you know
yeah,
what? Now you've said that, that makes so much sense. That is
immediately,
big,
yeah.
big, big, big younger sibling behaviour. Yeah, I get it now. That's the
Yeah.
explanation.
Everything he does, like, it can be traced back to that. Also,
It
like,
really
just in
can.
general, like, on a meta level, to be a YouTuber is so, like, you have to be some level of a narcissist to be on camera and be like, people should watch me.
Oh,
But that's just,
absolutely.
like, a whole other thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from
Anyway,
our amazing Phil psychoanalysis.
Phil, if you're listening to this, get in touch and tell us if any of that is true.
Yes, please. I have one last sort of thing about it, which was at the end of the video where Dan is in his dinosaur onesie and he's like, "Oh, it's still damp or whatever," and Phil grabs the tail, and Dan says, "Don't grope my tail or whatever," and I just feel like there's such a difference between them touching tails back then and now. Phil has touched multiple tails of Dan's, like the pigtail, the dragon tail,
That
and they
big,
make
that
the same jokes all the time. Like they're much more sick now. Um, I
that
can't imagine
pigtail
how much like he
joke.
wanted to. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, thank you.
horrendous. Yeah, he must have been dying to make like a joke back then. Is all I can think.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm, yeah,
And the thing is,
that
I
was my
bet they
last
made
one.
so yeah, no, I bet they
Mm.
made so many little jokes like that off camera as well, and like it was that thing of like, oh, I want to say this on camera, but like we can't, like we're not at that level yet, we're not there.
Yeah, it's too much. Yeah, damn. That's what like we missed. I feel like we missed out on so much, but we're making up for it now, which is good.
Well, we're
Mm.
more than making up for it, absolutely.
You were almost regretting the fact that we are getting it now. Not really. Please don't take it back. But yeah,
Don't leave us, Dan and Phil. Please don't leave us.
they did that interview that we just read. Everyone, go read the People interview that just came out. It's so good.
Yeah, I was halfway through reading it before we started recording, so I will finish it after we have finished recording. But it's a good one.
Yes.
What I've read so far, it's incredible.
Yes.
It's just so nice reading interviews from them where like the interviewer gets them, and like obviously
Mm.
it really helps that the interviewer this time was like a fanny and has been watching them for a really long time, so she knows them and sort of like the community that
Yeah.
they've crafted. But it's just, I think it's just nice always like doing these YouTube interviews. The one that I think about all the time, which is sort of comparable to this, is the in-person one they did in America with the Huffington Post back in Tartanoff era,
Mm-hmm.
where
Yeah.
it was
Famous.
one of, obviously like at this time YouTube was such a new thing, and it was people, a lot of traditional media was still like, what, like you film videos and you earn money because of that? That's crazy. That's not a real job. Like that's just a hobby. But they went over to America when they were doing Titan and they did this Huffington Post interview with this man, and he was just so nice. Like he wasn't condescending at all. He really like got what they were about and what YouTube was and like what this tour was. And it was such a refreshing interview because I think we'd had lots of stuff before that was all a bit like, oh, like how do you make money from videos, or like silly questions like that. But this guy like actually got what Dan and Phil were about and what YouTube was about. And I just remember at the time it was such a refreshing interview to watch and to listen to. So if you haven't watched that, I would recommend going
Yeah.
back and watching it if you want to catch up on some like Dan and Phil interviews, because they are very few and far between. So when we get a good one, we have to like hold on to it and treasure it.
Yeah, yeah, we have to treasure it. I'm really glad they're doing press this time. I think
Yeah,
they had to for America, but it's really good. They're very well spoken. They know what they're about. Like it's, I mean, Dan does sort of put on like this very casual tone when he's doing these interviews. For some reason, I thought he would tone down the his I don't know his Dan-ness, but he's not. He said the words, "The people are still horny for Dan and Phil in 2024" in this People interview. I don't know if you got to that part.
I did. I did read
Which like
that
you
bit.
don't I don't think you say that to interviewers, but thankfully again, interview was lovely, knows them, knows about them, so that's fine. But other than that, like they're really really good. I wish they did more interviews. I want to know everything.
And it's nice getting interviews where people like actually ask them like interesting questions and like we can learn some
Yeah,
things that we didn't know about them. Um,
yeah.
won't mention the interview that was done by them for this American magazine that also came out earlier this week.
Mm,
Very bland and boring. Like, I want some spice. Give me some unheard Dan
yeah.
and Phil stories, please.
And the thing is, they have these answers rehearsed. Like they can anticipate some of these questions, right? So they have their standard answers, as do all public figures. But I want an interview to just like sort of like this interviewer asked about Phil's like old videos and whether he would do anything like that again, which is like he never talks about it. So we found out that they call it Phil's art house era, that period of time, like in 2008 or whatever, and it's just like, yes, thank you for this nugget of knowledge, and also thank you for reminding Phil that he should do these things. Yeah, like what, like some of those, just like ask them things they wouldn't expect, so they tell us instead of um, just like the usual stuff. Mm.
Just going off that, I have decided that one of my pre-show questions when I go and see Tit next year will be, Phil, when are you going to bring back Draw Phil Naked?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
So,
I would love to
can
know,
you?
like, is he, there's probably like an actual reason why he stopped it, so
I feel like
we
he's
might get
discussed it
it.
as well. I feel like I've heard him discuss it, or like he's mentioned it, or maybe I've just read something that like people hypothesized why he
Mm.
stopped it. He I think he thought it was a bit like immature, maybe. And it wasn't
Ooh.
like he wanted to sort of grow his channel, and then obviously especially with like Tan off, because I feel like we're coming to the end of Draw Phil Naked, and I'm not too sure if it stopped like in conjunction with Tatton off. So maybe it was like a image thing that he didn't, and he thought it was a bit like childish to like have this little segment on his videos.
Interesting. I would have thought it would be a bit inappropriate as opposed to immature, because
Yeah,
his
inappropriate.
I imagine the audience was getting younger and younger, maybe, so he was like, maybe I don't do that. Um, Maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
If there's a live show, I will go hunting for this after the episode, but
but I would love
who
to know.
knows?
I have
Yeah.
some. I mean, I have some friends who are sort of like Dan and Phil knowledge like machines. So I might go and ask one of them and see if they have any knowledge.
Yes. That would be good.
Anyway, shall we move on to Dan's video? Dan the dinosaur versus Phil the
Yes.
lion, the extinction race.
Yes, let's do that. So, the extinction race is our last Krave video related video that we've gotten. And so this was on Daz on Fire. It was uploaded on the 11th of July 2014, exactly a week after Phil's, which is what they had said. It's deleted now. We don't know why. Like, I can't figure out why. Maybe because of the Spawn stuff that happened later.
I think
Um,
maybe tying with why he deleted all the other videos from his channel, they just didn't tie in with the image that he wanted to
oh,
portray
sure.
on YouTube of being like Dan talking about, like, he tells funny stories about his life and he talks about big topics. And I suppose this didn't really fit into any of that. And this was just sort of his
It is very silly.
yes man
So
era
silly.
of, I need some money, this company want to work with me, I'll do it.
Yeah. It is a very silly video. So the premise of this is that they are on this bouncy contraption. I don't. It's like a slide, but not really. They're not. They don't slide down or anything, and they are attached at. They are attached by this elastic waistband thing that apparently tightens the further you go away from it, and they have to race to make a bowl of cereal. So in between them there are like there's spoons, bowls, and a Krave like cereal box velcroed, and all they have to do is step forward and get it. But because the elastic tightens, they fall, and it's funny. And at the same time, they have distractions by PJ makes an appearance in this,
Yeah,
where
I'd
he
completely
attacks
forgotten
them.
that PJ was in this. When he like pops up, I was like, oh my god, hi PJ.
Hi, friend. Um, he is basically the idea since his extinction race. He is dressed up as a hunter, and he takes turns to throw shit at them, which would um, quote unquote kill either Phil the lion or Dan the dinosaur. So, for example, Dan gets like balls thrown at him like meteors, and Phil gets, I think, like a water gun or something, or maybe like a BB gun.
I think it's like little Nerf gun, like little arrows
Nerf gun,
shot at
that's
him.
what it is. Yes, because he's like a poacher. So that's the premise. And like Charlotte said before, Dan does win this
He does.
video because it's
So
rigged.
it was rigged. One of my first notes about this one is the editing in this one, and I think just the production value of it. There's music, there's like different camera shots. They got PJ in this. So, and Dan actually credited like the people that filmed it and did music for it and edited it. Whereas on Phil's, I think he edited a lot of that himself because I don't think he credited anybody else in the description. But like this video is just, I wrote this Dan's video is so spicy compared to Phil's. Like with the editing and all the music, it just feels like really epic and like this big production compared to what Phil's was.
Yes, but I will also say that Phil actually did credit editors and
Oh, did
like
he? I
he
completely
did.
missed that.
He
Sorry.
did.
Sorry, Phil.
He I think they had the same team working on both of them. So
That would
they
make
had
sense.
yeah. So I think for Phil, I think Dan probably edited his own video because again, control freak. Um but Jack Howard did help with editing, and then Kieran O'Brien, who does a lot of like DOP stuff for YouTubers, he also does. I think he also did Dystopia Daily. Um, like he works with a lot of YouTubers and he films stuff
Yeah.
for them. And Alex O'Dam, I think
Mm-hmm.
is his username. They did the filming. Just so they must have helped out with Dan's video as well. We can't know because he deleted the video and therefore we don't have the description. But we can assume.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, this one just felt a bit more like interesting. There's a lot more going on.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
did write some fun quotes from this one. I love the bit at the beginning where they sort of explain like what's going to happen, and then Dan goes to shake Phil's hand, but instead Phil just like headbutts Dan's hand instead. He like bows and like butts his head.
So weird.
It's
So
so
weird.
bizarre. It's just like a silly video to watch. I was like, what is going on?
Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I just thought it was so silly. Like, what is Phil doing? And then I wrote some other quotes as well. Um, Again, this is all at the beginning before the end. Phil says the line. I think it was when they're discussing the onesies and they're going to have to put the
Yeah.
onesies on. Phil says the line, "I was almost considering being a furry," and then Dan replies with, "I am way ahead of you there, Phil." And I'm like, what does this all mean? Like, what are we doing? It's 2014. We shouldn't be having furry chats right now. Like, Save it for a few years and then we can discuss furries.
Literally, again, this was them like boiling us. As the metaphor is, they're just like slowly, just like giving us these little things to get us used to the even weirder things that they say now. I don't think it was intentional back then, but yeah, please don't tell us about all of this. Ew. Um, I don't know when he said this. I think it was when, again, like when they were putting on the onesies, but Phil was like, or maybe it was when they were getting harnessed up. But he says, I've been told I have strong hips, which is a well documented fact
Yes, I
for
wrote
both
about
of
this as
them.
well. Phil and his Shakira
Yeah.
hips.
However, the further you walk, the tighter the cord will stretch, and one wrong move will send you flying back to the start.
I think I'm going to be good at this. I've been told I've got strong hips.
Who told you you have strong hips?
My hip therapist?
Okay. And
His birthing hips. Also, Dan and his very open hips. They're just very,
Hippie.
very loud about their hips. Yeah. They love talking about them.
Yeah. And then Phil says the phrase like, I have a hip therapist. And we're like, please be quiet. Like, stop saying weird, unhinged things to us, please.
Yeah. It's the same energy as Dan telling us his dentist said something about his son.
Yes. Yeah.
Same
The
thing.
powerful tongue.
They're both so
Same
weird.
thing.
Same thing.
They're both so weird. It's because they're boys.
They really
It's because
found
they're
each other.
boys.
It's because they're boys. But
That's
it's just
the
so funny
reason.
that they found each other. It's just like, how do you find someone who's just as weird as you?
Not to quote the kids on the internet, but they really did match each other's freak.
They really did match each other's freak in every way. I don't know if it's like... Actually, no, they've been matching each other's freak since day one, but I feel like if you are growing together, you tend to just accept these parts of each other. And they have.
Oh,
They really have.
absolutely.
Yeah. They consciously match each other's freak, you know? It's a choice that they make.
It's a trick. They're choosing to match each other's freak.
Exactly.
I wrote this one note. So, I mean, it looks like genuinely so hard. Like, I've seen these sort of like inflatable courses, where I don't even know what you want, like obstacle thing, whatever you want to call it. I've seen them like before, and they genuinely look so hard. Like, they were trying their hardest to get this spoon and cereal and the cereal bowl. And I think genuinely, like, towards the end, I think Phil just gave up halfway through and was like, I'm just going to let Dan win. I can't be bothered to do this anymore. I'm tired. Dan can win. And there's this one shot. It's where Dan is being covered in ice by PJ. And it's like a shot from the front of it. So you can see both of like the channels that they're standing in. And Dan is being covered in ice. And Phil is just lying like face down on the floor. Like on the inflatable. And it looked so stupid. He's just there. I'm just like, poor Phil. He's really given up. He's had a hard day. He just wants to lie down.
Yeah, he was getting old. He was like 27. He's like, I can't do this anymore. Which is so fair. Like, I would also be tired. I will say, even though Dan did win and it was rigged, I think his distractions were eviler than Phil's, because he had balls thrown at him, which he could fall over, and he had ice thrown on him, which is just diabolical. Whereas Phil had the Nerf gun, like Nerf bullets, and I mean he had snakes thrown at him, which
But what were
is
they going to
hard,
do?
but
They were just like some big snakes.
yeah,
Like, just
yeah.
throw them, stand over them.
Yeah, literally. Also, that's Timmy the Snake debut on
It was,
on Dan's
yeah.
on Fire.
I
That's
presume
where
so,
Timmy the Snake
anyway.
came from. It's the same
Was that
snake, I
right?
think.
I presume it would be,
Yeah,
yeah. Is that the origin
yeah.
story of Timmy?
I think so, because the pin-off that they do, pin-off 6, is where Timmy comes in. So they just kept the snake.
Get the
Mm.
snake.
Yeah.
Some deep Dan and Phil lore discussions going on today. Deep Dan and Phil lore.
Deep. Things you didn't notice.
So yeah, that's pretty much the video. The ending is pretty brutal because the consequence is that Phil's onesie has to be ripped to shreds, and Dan absolutely goes to town destroying that onesie, and he chops the head off, and it's very, very
Yeah,
sad.
it is. I mean, it's
Phil
called
looks
extinction race.
exactly. Phil
So
does look heartbroken, and I love that PJ is just like standing in the back of that entire shot, just watching everything.
just like this creepy ass smile on his face.
One note I did write about this is just the whole series in general, is that obviously this was a year after the previous Krave videos that they'd both done.
Yes.
And I think, I don't know, I mean, obviously we've discussed quite a few videos since then, but obviously I presume that Dan and Phil's sort of fame would have skyrocketed even more, like, in this past 12 months. And I think it's really interesting that Krave clearly picked up on that, and picked up on the, like, that Dan and Phil joint content is this, like, gold mine of appeal to people. And they were like, yeah, Dan and Phil, like, we want you to be part of this, but, like, you're going to do it as, like, a joint challenge. Like, we want you to be, like, together in some way. Like, we want this to be a joint thing. We don't want you to do it separately like last year. So
Yes,
I think
because
it's interesting just how they picked up on that. They must have picked up on it. That must have been, like, someone in the marketing team been like, oh, like, we're going to ask Dan and Phil, like, you should get them to do it as, like, joint content, because people love their joint content, and their joint videos get so many more views than their ones that aren't joint content. So you should do this.
yeah. I would agree. And they were really leaning into it, I would say. I mean, not so much, but 2014 definitely, unbeknownst to us, they were working really close to doing the gaming channel soon. Um, but yeah, they started working together a lot more, even outside of radio stuff. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if brands did pick up on it, because 2015 had even more things outside of just that now. Like they did Red Nose
Exactly.
Day, so many things. But yeah, would be I'm curious to know. I wonder if they
Yeah.
pitched it. I wonder if they were
Maybe.
like,
Yeah, I wonder what
most
that
likely.
conversation was like.
Because in the early days, Phil would get approached and then he'd be like, "Can Dan come? Can can I have my friend Dan do it too?" But at this point, they're pretty much like everyone knows they're a package deal, which is so
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
So, as is tradition on the podcast, shall we do some outfit rankings?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Fizz, how many? Well, I'm really thinking on the spot here for something that links both of the videos together.
Oh. How many bowls of cereal? I don't know.
Oh, that's a good one. How many bowls of cereal would you rate Dan's dinosaur onesie?
I would give this onesie a 10 on 10. I think it's excellent. I think it probably lived a long, happy life pre-fouls. I think he got rid of it before they went to the fouls. But I think it's a great addition. It's good branding, adjacent
Yeah.
piece of clothing. Yeah, 10 on 10. What about you? How many bowls of
Do you know
cereal?
what? I think also 10 bowls of cereal. Like you said, it's good branding. Even in 2014, he can't escape the dinosaurs. Like, we're still here. We're still calling ourselves dinosaurs. We've still got that link to the dinosaurs. And it's a shame he got rid of it, you know? And I think maybe he should bring it back. Maybe that'll be another one of my pre-show questions. Like, can we bring back dinosaurs and Phil Lyons, please?
Oh yeah, literally. Just remind them. I'm afraid for your pre-show questions. Like it's just you, like over and over, just reminding of them of their past that they're trying to run away from.
If anyone listening isn't going to any pre-shows and they have a question that they want me to ask, please send it to us and I will ask them. I have a few pre-shows that I'm going to, so plenty of opportunities to submit some questions.
Oh my god, yes! What a nice act of service from Charlotte.
You're
Thank you,
so
Charlotte.
welcome. Do you know what we should do after I've seen the first show? I should record a voice note for the podcast, and I can send it. I can somehow like a voice recording, and we can insert it into like the next episode that we do.
Yes! Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, okay, let's do that. We have to write it down so I will forget.
Yes.
Um, okay. Recording of Charlotte's show in next. I'm sure that'll make sense to me in the future. Let's rate Phil's onesie just really quickly. Let's pay our respects.
Pay our respects to the no longer the onesie that is no more.
Yes. So, Charlotte, how many bowls of cereal are you gonna give Phil's lion onesie?
Do you know what? I don't know. I feel like he's
Oh.
had. I feel like he's had another lion onesie that was better, or maybe I'm just misremembering. I'm not a huge fan of the lion head on this one, but I feel like because it's Phil, because it's a lion, it's got to be like a 10 out of 10 for the exact same reasons that we said for Dan, for the
Dan.
memories.
Yeah. Pretty much same. I would knock down a point just because the main isn't meaning. I think I think it could be a better I think it could be a better onesie, like you said.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
Rest in peace though.
She is gone, but she is not forgotten.
Yes. I highly recommend watching these videos. Like they are so funny.
Just for like some classic 2014 Dan and Phil content. Like,
Yeah.
that's not your pin-offs and isn't your diddles. Like, this is just solid Dan and Phil. Like, this was my bread and butter back in 2014. When I was watching this was like, I was gobbling this up.
Yeah. It's not surprising. Also, I will say it's very rare to see them do physical challenges anymore because, I mean, they
They're,
are
they're
falling
old.
apart. They are literally
Falling
falling.
apart.
They can only do like chest up. Like shuffleboard is as
Phil.
physical as they're getting.
Fizz. Phil is a 37, not 87.
You see how he acts? I'm sorry. Unless like you're going to tit or whatever, they claim to be doing lots of physical things on stage, but for
I'll believe
videos,
that when I see it.
yes, come January you will see. Um, but yeah, in terms of just like these competition things, they just sort of like sit in the gaming room and do board games and stuff. But this is quite physical for them. They used to do it on
Yeah,
the radio a lot, but not so
they
much on
did.
YouTube. Yeah. They ran around that BBC building like they owned it in 2013.
I do love that with their radio stuff. They had like the most
Yes.
insane out of pocket ideas, and they went to like their producer and were like, "Hi, like, we have this crazy idea," and they were like, "Yep, sure, whatever you want to do, you can do it. I don't care. Off you go. Have fun."
Have fun. Like all these serious reporters at the BBC trying to break news, and they're just like, I'm gonna put on a Buffy mask and like throw shit at my friend. Just lovely. It's great. Dan Phil are amazing.
Yeah, they really are. So, that concludes our final episode of Series 2. We both really hope that you have enjoyed this series. We're not going to be going anywhere. We'll probably be back within the next few weeks. So, this isn't like a big hiatus or anything like that. We're not going out to get milk, as Dan and Phil say.
No, definitely not. We'll be
No
back.
milk here.
No.
Thank you everyone for listening. This series has been really fun. If anyone has any ideas, suggestions, or any thoughts on anything we could add into series 3, or if you want to be a guest on any episodes, send us a message, and that would be like great. Like, it's so much fun to have guests come and join us. It's great to have like another opinion on videos and things like that. So if anyone does want to come and join us on an episode in series 3, let us know.
You can just DM
But yeah,
us or
you can just
send it
DM us.
down to us. Yeah. Yeah, like Charlotte said, thank you so much for listening. The series, especially the second one, has been so much more fun. I mean, they're all fun, but I feel like the closer we get to where we are now, the more interesting and the more like the meatier the content gets, which
Yeah,
is always
absolutely.
exciting. And it's going to get much better because we're approaching end of 2014, 2015 stuff, which is just, it's all my favorite stuff. So
Yeah,
We'll see you in the next series, I guess, for all of that.
which will hopefully be very soon. We'll be back in your ears as soon as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for
Goodbye.
listening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.